Welcome to the Enchanted Ears podcast,
where we discuss anything and everything Disney.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Joe, and on today's episode, we are kicking off spooky season by talking to our friends Jennifer and Keifer, who recently were down in Florida, and they got to experience Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party and Halloween Horror Nights. So we weren't able to go down this year, so they are our correspondents. So we're going to talk to them, go over, what was the experience like, kind of pros and cons of going to each party. It's early enough in the year. People may be going. Maybe it's your first time. You're not sure what to expect. Kind of going through all of that with them. And some really great insight from them.
I was going to say, I never wanted to go to Hollywood Horror Nights. I'd always heard really good
Halloween
things.
Horror Nights.
Halloween?
Yeah.
What
You said Hollywood.
Oh.
There is a Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights, though.
Yeah.
That's where you're getting confused, but this is Orlando's.
Yeah. So I've never wanted to go. It always sounded like it would maybe be too scary for me. But after listening to them, it sounds like they have enough of a range that I could go do something scary and be like, I need to come down from that and go do something pretty cool. So I think that I would be willing to risk going.
Yeah, and Mickey's Not So Scary sounds
not
great
so
too.
scary.
Yeah, it's not as scary, but it sounds great too with just like the trick or treating and everything going on there. We were not able to make it this year. I mean, our plan is next year to definitely try to go. That's one of the parties we've definitely wanted to attend and just haven't had the chance. So really enjoy talking to them. Really good kind of insight on that. But before we get to that interview, want to cover the Disney news of the week. So a few pieces of Disney news. One thing that came out is on this Disney community, this Story Living by Disney community that they are building in California. It is still moving forward. So they released some concept art on the Parr house that they're building. So the House of the Incredibles. This is going to kind of be...
Oh, I thought you were talking about golf. I was like, is there like a golf course? So it's like a Parr.
Yeah, so there's no golf course, but this is basically, it's a club. So even if you buy a house in the community, it's still an additional charge. So this is kind of like a country club. So it is a little bit like golf. So if you want these additional amenities, it's an additional cost. I think it's something like, I saw like a $20,000 initiation fee, and then somewhere like $10,000 to $15,000 a year. It's going to go up from there. Like people are saying this is basically kind of like this community's Club 33 type thing. So they released some concept art on that. Looks great. They also have, I saw model homes are opening this fall. So this thing is moving ahead. Like the plan is to have, I think, houses built, people into this by next year. One thing I found interesting, just looking at kind of the layout of the home plan, there's a lot of houses. It's a few hundred homes, but a lot of it, I'd say at least half, if not more, is designated for 55 and over. So they talked about this, that it was going to be, a portion of it was going to be that. Disney's already announced a second one of these. My thought is this is Disney getting into
retirement
communities. So, they get kids in early with the movies. They have you as adult. I was going to
say,
don't
parks. Say no more.
Yeah,
no more.
And then they get you, when you retire in Disney.
If I could live in the Disney bubble from the time that I'm 55 till death do us part, I mean, sign me up.
The problem is these houses, looking at the model homes, they look beautiful. They're 2,500, 3,000 square feet. There's no way these houses are under $1 million. Like they're going to be, I think, very, very expensive.
That's the one thing. So you're saying like 2,500 square feet. Like I feel like at that age, get me in at a lower price point. Give me a smaller house. Give me one-story living.
They are one story. So a lot of them are one story. Some of them are two-story. Most of them, from what I saw, looking at some of the floor plans, are basically just 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
But some of them have like the second bedroom on like a second story. But most of the living is all on one floor. But yeah, I can't wait to see the prices for these houses because I think it's going to be pretty expensive. But moving forward, so they must. And again, they've announced one in North Carolina, so they must have a good response on this.
Yeah.
Then over in the parks, over at Hollywood Studios, they announced the Jollywood Nights, some the entertainment that's going to be happening. So this is over at Hollywood Studios, their kind of after-hours holiday event on there. So it's going to be select nights from November 9th to December 21st. So I'm going to go over some of the kind of key things to outline because this sounds like a really cool party. So last year was the first year of it. It seems like they've kind of found their niche here with this. So they're going to have an ice skating show called Glisten. So on Hollywood Boulevard, I think they're going to have professional ice skaters. You have Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy, joined by Disney characters. They mentioned Tiana, Belle, Minnie Mouse, and Mickey Mouse performing holiday hits. So kind of a singing show. Where the Frozen sing-along is, so during the party, it's going to be a Nightmare Before Christmas sing-along. And then they're going to have Holiday Fiesta and La Cala, which is bringing the energy of a Latin street fair to life. So more singing and dancing. And then they have the Tip Top Club at the Hollywood Tower Hotel, where you will be, quote, transported back to the golden age of Hollywood. This retro style spot is complete with swanky music, vintage cocktails, and an air of mystery, perfect to unwind with style. So it sounds like this party is definitely, I feel like, more geared towards adults, but it seems to be a lot of singing, dancing, drinks, like versus like Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, where that seems to be more, hey, you see the parade, you see the fireworks. There's a fireworks show at Jollywood Nights too, but it seems like they're really kind of tapping into that. They have the bar, they have, Latin street dancing, sing along. So it seems to be like, I feel like they've kind of dialed into their vibe this year, and it sounds pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's a way to plan your trip so that you can hit both this and
you can.
And, yeah,
they're definitely,
very.
so they don't, from what I saw, they don't occur on the same night. So you can definitely go and do one night and another one another night. Like I looked, for instance, because again, I just daydream.
Yeah.
I daydream plan trips. So I looked over Thanksgiving, and I think, I'm not sure which one was which, but like Friday night there was one, and Sunday night was another one. So you could go the weekend over Thanksgiving, take a long weekend, and do both of these. Do Jollywood Nights and the Christmas party over at Magic Kingdom. So
Man, it's too bad. Like, you don't know anybody with a birthday in that general vicinity.
it is too bad. I don't know anybody with a birthday in that general vicinity. So we're going to go enough next year. I feel like this is next year. I think we will definitely try to hit both of these just with the annual passes and everything. So maybe not this year, but I don't know. I was daydreaming it. Maybe we'll see. Who knows? There's still some time.
Yeah, I was going to say, is
There's still
Thanksgiving
time.
early next year? I wonder. I feel like it's late this year.
I think it's late next year too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah, it
fourth
doesn't-
Thursday.
I think I was going to say, I
Yeah.
think it moves back, and then it should probably cycle back to being early maybe again in the
Yeah,
next
maybe
couple
after
years.
next year. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, this sounds incredible. Again, last year was the first year I think it got good reviews. This year just seems again like they've kind of leaned into more what this party is going to be going forward. So that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
All right, so let's get into our interview with Jennifer and Keifer. We're delighted to be joined this week by our friends Jennifer and Keifer, both of whom are big Disney fans, and we actually met them on the Galactic Star Cruiser. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have
We
you.
are. So we weren't able to make it down to Florida this year for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party or down at Universal Halloween Horror Nights. But you both were.
Yes.
So you are our official spooky season correspondents this year.
Amazing.
So having you on to talk all things Halloween parties down in Orlando.
Sounds good. Yeah, we had a great time, so we're happy to talk about it.
Now, was it your first time to both events in Orlando?
We had done Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party before, but it's probably been like a decade, maybe.
Right, we
since
did
the last time
we did
we
Oogie
went.
Boogie a bunch since then.
Yeah, we've done Oogie Boogie a bunch since then. But yeah, Mickey's was probably like a decade ago, but we've done it a couple of times.
But it was our first
Halloween Horror Nights.
Night. Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oh, okay, good. Well, let's start with Disney. Let's start with Mickey's Not So Scary. And I think it'll be interesting, too, since you have been there, but it's been a while, kind of what maybe has changed since then. So maybe could you talk through, like, what it was like, this year? How was it kind of like the process getting in? What were the crowd levels like? Because you went early, so it was early September, so relatively kind of early in the season in terms of everything.
Yeah, it was early in the season, but it was a sold out night. So even with it being early September, it sold out and it was definitely crowded. You can get in as early as 4:00 in the afternoon. That was our plan. That did not happen. We took a little while longer than we expected to get our costumes put together. So We got there around 6 o'clock, and they do technically close the park for daytime guests at 6, but you can go ahead and enter through a specific entrance. It was pretty seamless getting in, actually. I didn't feel like
it wasn't any problem
there
at
were
all.
any hangups or slowdowns. We took the bus from our hotel where we stayed at the boardwalk. So they drop you off right at the gate instead of having to go through the transportation center. And yeah, we just entered through the entrance that said specifically for the party. They gave you a wristband right after you scanned in. Then they kind of herd everyone to the right as you enter and give you your bag to pick up your candy, and then you're free to go.
Wow.
Good. That's one thing I think I would like most. We've never done the Halloween party, but the fact that you can kind of like trick or treat during it. So
Yes.
they give you a bag.
Yes.
So that's when you walk in, they give you a bag, and then you can just walk and get as much candy as you want. Like, are there stops throughout all the park?
Yes.
Like, everywhere in the park? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's trick-or-treat stops throughout the park. The party doesn't technically start until 7 o'clock, so that doesn't start until 7. But yeah, you just go to the trick-or-treat stops, wait in the line, they give you candy, fill up your bag. And for people who have allergies like me, you can get a token and exchange your tokens for allergy-friendly treats at specific places in the park as well.
Oh, wow, that's really awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super convenient. So is it just like, I mean, like candy corn, like lollipops, like just stuff like that? Or
Yeah,
are there
it's like-
special like Disney branded stuff?
No,
or-
it's like every popular
Trick-or-treat candy.
Trick-or-treat candy that,
Okay.
Like different chocolates and,
Yeah. M&M's
Yeah,
and Skittles
yeah,
and
stuff like that.
lollipops.
Yeah,
And,
regular candy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And is it just like take as much as you want, get
No.
one from each? Okay.
They hand it to you.
They
But you
hand
can
you
go
one.
through
Okay.
the lines as many times as you
Multiple
want.
times.
So if your
Okay.
goal is to get candy and you want to wait in those lines and get candy, you could get as much as you wanted.
How long would it take you to recoup the cost of your ticket
Oh.
by to just try to get as much candy as possible?
What would be the price
I
beyond
know.
the money,
I'm
though?
thinking, like, the stomach ache.
I don't know. Those big bags of candy now, they used to be like $10. They're like
Yeah.
super expensive now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny.
So you mentioned it was sold out. So I guess in terms of crowds, like waiting in line for candy, waiting in line for attractions, like what was kind of like the average wait for you then?
How long
Didn't
did we
really pay
wait?
attention,
Yeah.
did you?
The crowds were not, in terms of like the line, were not comparable to a day,
No.
to like the middle of the day in the
No,
park.
they're not comparable to daytime crowds.
They
They
were
definitely
shorter than
cap
that.
attendance a lot smaller than it is during the day.
Did you find too, like I imagine, because there's trick-or-treating, because you can dress up in costumes, I imagine it's a lot of families, a lot of young kids there that they're probably there just for the trick-or-treating. Like they're not there to ride Space Mountain or Tron or whatever like that. So that probably helps with some of the wait times as well.
Yeah, I would say that our longest wait was the meet and greet we did with Donald, Daisy, Minnie, and Goofy. We probably waited 45 minutes
Yeah.
for that because there were a lot of families in line for that one.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'd say that was our probably our longest wait. The meet and greet lines can get pretty long because they're in their special costumes, so everybody wants those photos and, meets with the characters. But the lines for the rides, I don't think were very long. We saved Tiana's Bayou Adventure for our last thing of the night because we're like, if we're getting wet, we're going to do it
Yeah.
last. Of course, it rained the whole time, so it didn't really matter. But we saved it for our last thing of the night, and it was about 10 minutes. It was basically a walk-on.
Yeah, it
So
was quick.
Okay, so
Oh,
and so
wow.
it's not virtual queue.
No.
You can just walk. Same with Tron. Like
Yes.
they're just all walk on during the
yeah,
parties. Oh, that's
yes,
nice.
during the parties, Tron and Tiana's are both just standby queues, nothing else.
Okay,
Wow.
that's awesome. What any other characters that you waited in line for or saw?
Those are the only ones we waited in line for.
Okay.
But they do have a lot of meet and greets with characters who aren't typically in the parks, or they're wearing special Halloween outfits. There's a separate one for Mickey in his Halloween outfit. He doesn't greet with the other characters. And then they had quite a few princesses in places that they don't normally hang out. And they had Mirabelle and Bruno. which
Oh,
I
nice.
wanted to do that one, but the line was so long. Yeah, I was like, nah, we'll just skip it this time. They're at Disneyland too, so we'll be able to see them there at some point.
So what was your favorite character in costume that you saw? Like, was it the ones you got, or were there other ones that you were like thinking about going to wait in line for because they had an awesome costume, but you're just like, no, too long?
Yeah, no, I think it was the ones we got. I mean, we just love Donald and Daisy.
Yeah,
and
they're good.
Their Halloween costumes are so adorable. So that was our goal.
Yeah. Did you go there first? Because I remember a few years ago when we went for the Christmas party, when we were driving over, our minivan driver was like, go see the characters you want first because those tend to fill up quickly.
Yep.
And so we did that. We kind of went and did that first, and I don't think we waited too long for any of them.
Well, we did wait a long time because
Goofy lost his pants.
Goofy lost his pants. He had a wardrobe malfunction, and
Oh my God.
it took him a while to come back out. He ran out like holding his pants.
Yeah,
up.
we were like second in line
He's
for
going
him.
full Pluto.
Oh
He's
no.
going full Pluto.
or
Yeah,
Winnie the Pooh.
I think we were second or third in line. He came out, I think took one picture, his pants fell down and just ran off. And we were like, what happened? Like we were like next or right after, so we waited a little bit for him. But I guess so did you do that first or did you kind of wait more?
It was
Okay.
a little bit later in the night because our thought process was some of the kids will leave after the parades. And maybe the line will be a little bit shorter. I don't know if it was shorter. I'm not sure how long it was earlier in the evening. But a lot of the crowds had definitely cleared out by the time we went and got in line for that.
Yeah, especially after we left for that.
Yeah. The line was like non-existent by the time we got our photos. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's what's interesting again of like you have to think about who's going, what they're going for. Again, Halloween party, I think it's more about the trick or treating, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Christmas.
I think there were a lot more adults at that one.
There's not like the trick or treating and stuff. So
We've never
it's
done.
pretty steady.
We've never done Mickey's Not So Scary, so I don't know how it compares.
Yeah.
Was this our third time?
Yeah.
Third
This was
time.
our third time.
How did it compare for you to
Previous
times? Yeah,
I feel like it was more crowded than before.
It was.
But this, our last time was like over a decade ago.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
think-
Disney in general is just more crowded now. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the parties sold out like they do now, a decade ago. So it seemed like it was more crowded than it was the last time we went. But it was well organized. I didn't really feel like anything was too crowded in one area. Like you said, there's lots of things to space people out in different places around the park. So, yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest difference that I saw was updates to entertainment. And, that's always nice.
I feel like even though it was crowded, I feel like the crowd was friendly.
Yeah,
which
for sure.
is different. Sometimes during the middle of the day, people can get cranky or whatever. But at night, everyone was really nice. And, like, if we wanted to get in a better spot to see a show or something, people kept saying, like, oh, you want to stand here? Like, it was very nice.
Yeah, that's really nice.
You mentioned entertainment. That was going to be one thing I asked, like, compared to previous years. Like, does it feel like they have better offerings now? I know they have, like, the Hocus Pocus show, the parade, the fireworks. Like, is that more than they had a decade ago as it's become more popular, or does it seem like it's not what it used to be?
No, I think I felt like there was more entertainment for sure. Of course, we struggled with the rain, which is not something that's going to happen every night. So
We saw most
we
everything.
did. One of my biggest goals was to see the Hocus Pocus show because I've watched it on YouTube, but we've never seen it live.
We saw part of it.
We saw 10 minutes of it, and then they had to stop because of lightning and rain. Then they tried to do another one later, but the same thing happened. So we did not get to see the whole show.
But we did see the whole parade.
We did see the whole parade. So we were kind of watching the weather, and, everybody always suggests if you're an adult, try to get to the second parade because a lot of the little kids are gone and you'll get better viewing. But we were watching our weather app and decided we need to watch the first one.
Yeah,
So
I was like, it's kind of on and off rain. So if the parade goes, we need to see it the first time just in case it doesn't go the second
They
time.
delayed it for maybe 10 minutes. The Headless Horseman wasn't able to ride at all. But the full parade went through on the first scheduled time. And we got to see the whole thing. And they've definitely added a lot of floats and characters since we were there 10 years ago to the parade. So that was fun to see all of the new additions for that too.
That's good. It's interesting because like I feel like the narrative for the parks in general is Disney cuts back from stuff. But in the after hours, I guess it's because they're selling you a ticket and they just keep raising the price of that ticket. Yep. So they're obviously, recouping money and can kind of fund, that additional entertainment and stuff. But it's interesting that, it's kind of flipped. Like if you kind of want to go and have an over the top experience, less crowds, like you're going to pay for it, but at least you kind of feel like you are getting something for that ticket. So
yeah, for sure. And we got to see, they did do the fireworks, but they weren't able to use like the big Jack Skellington puppet on the stage, which was another one of my goals to see that live. So we didn't get to see the big Jack puppet, but YouTube is there. I can watch it anytime I want.
You know what that means?
What?
That just means you have to go.
Exactly.
Next
We
year.
have to go again. That's exactly what I told him. I was like, well, we don't get to see Jack Skellington. We have to go next year. So
exactly. It'll be perfect.
And y'all need to go with us.
As I said, you gotta come with us.
We have to go.
So you mentioned that you guys wore costumes. What did you dress up as? And also, do you know, like, there are rules about what you're allowed to wear in the parks typically. Are they different for the Halloween parties? Could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So as avid Disney bounders, we are very familiar with the costuming guidelines at the Disney parks. As an adult, if you're 14 or older, you're not allowed to wear a true costume on normal days at a Disney park, especially anything that could be confused with a cast member who is a character. So during normal days, you just can't do any of that. But during the Halloween parties or after hours events, you are allowed to come in full costume. So a lot of people like to really go over the top and come up with some fun looks. Do you want to share what we did?
Yes, we did kind of a Star Wars bent of Flynn Rider and your character.
Rapunzel. Yeah,
it was
yes. So we did Blondie, yeah, Sunshine. Eugene.
Raps.
Yeah,
yes.
Raps. There's
Raps,
so many nicknames at this point.
What's Eugene's real name? I forget.
It's Eugene Fitzherbert.
Oh, it's worse. Oh, it's like Horatio or something.
Yeah,
what is it?
Eugene Fitzherbert. Was that no? Yeah.
And then like his real name.
That was his orphanage name.
Yeah.
His real name is it's Herbert. Isn't it Herbert?
Maybe it's Herbert or something like that.
I think it's
Herbert. I'll have to go back and look again. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think you just need to watch the series again.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it again.
You haven't watched it enough
already.
times.
Third time's a charm. So we did Jedi, Rapunzel, and Flynn Rider, and I wore a full Rapunzel wig, full Jedi robes. Keifer even grew out a goatee for his Flynn Rider Jedi look.
Very committed.
It was a lot of commitment.
Just shaved today, so it's gone now.
Came around to it.
Yeah.
What was the temperature like?
Oh, it was so hot. The heat index during the day while we were there was about 105 every day. I'd say it probably after the sun went down, the heat index was probably still mid-90s. And then, the thunderstorms on top of that just kind of made you feel like you were walking through a sauna.
You just had to be committed.
You just got to commit and do it.
It's just like, we're just going to be sweaty.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always my struggle with it, because if we ever going to go, it's going to be over the summer. It's going to be in August when Angela's off, and it's like it's going to be 100 degrees out, and it's like, how are you going to dress up? Like, it's going to be so hot at that party, even though it's at night. It's still so hot down there.
Okay, so I have a real question here. These
have all been fake questions.
Yeah, the rest of them no. This one right here.
Now.
This is the real one. Does a wig and fake hair react the same way to humidity that real hair reacts to humidity?
It does not.
Oh, really?
It got wet in the rain. It was super hot. It was a synthetic wig, not human hair. So it pretty much just stayed exactly how it was supposed to the whole time, which was amazing.
Yeah, you still have to teach me how to style a wig, because, that's a topic for another day, but...
What were some of the other like costumes you saw that kind of stood out to you that other people were wearing?
Some of the people we went with did all of the emotions from Inside Out too, so that was fun. We saw quite a few emotions. A lot of people went with the Inside Out 2 theme. Saw a few Wolverines. Didn't see any Deadpools.
No Deadpools.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
can you wear masks? Are you allowed to wear masks?
No
Okay,
masks at all. Nothing that covers your face.
All right, so that kind of Deadpool's out there a little bit there. Okay.
Yeah, we saw all, typical princesses, lots of little girls dressed as different princesses. We saw quite a few other Rapunzels and Flynns. We were the only ones with, Jedi robes, but quite a few other Rapunzels and Flynns too. Yeah, I'd say that was kind of what we noticed the most.
Yeah, it made your costumes made for a good picture with Donald. You mentioned you get your picture with Donald because he had
he did the force push with us.
Yeah.
This is why
he was
Donald
the only one
is
on brand.
number one duck.
None of the
number one duck. I'll give you number one duck. Number one duck. I'll give you that. Not number one, but duck.
He's the only one who picked up on it. And he was like, "Yep, you lose."
He felt our energy.
Yes, he did. He did. The force was with him.
All right, so moving on to Halloween Horror Nights. So just up the road from Disney, you got to experience that as well. Now you said that was your first time doing Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes, we've done some of the daytime tours of the houses in the past when we were just there, for a park day. But this was our first time doing the nighttime event.
Have we ever done that in Orlando? No, so we did those in Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah.
In California.
So what, you just walk through the houses during the day? Like there's nobody in them or anything?
No, like the like for instance, they have a Walking Dead area.
Yeah, the Walking Dead one did have characters in it during the day, like it had the zombies in it, but some of them don't. It just depends on the house.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, they have in Orlando, I know specifically, you can do a daytime tour that they take you through a few of the houses because they're basically showing off all of the special effects and everything that they do. That's kind of the idea is like, hey, this is the magic behind how we do this. Now, I think that Walking Dead in California, that was an actual like experience that they had there like permanently. So that's why they had those characters there.
It was semi-permanent. Like they had it for, but they opened it at Halloween time. So it was like a big, like, come to the Walking Dead. And then, and then the other houses, like the actual houses, they don't have anything in them except, like you said, the special effects and the immersive decor and all of that kind of stuff during the day.
So being like your first time going to Halloween Horror Nights, like kind of what was your expectation going into it? And then kind of how, like when you got there, kind of just initially getting into it, like how did that kind of exceed, your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, it is completely the opposite of the Disney party.
Right.
I will just throw that out there first. It is not for young children. It is not for the faint of heart. But to be honest, everybody kept talking up like how terrifying the scare zones in the houses were. And I enjoyed them. I jumped quite a bit when people jump out at you, but it wasn't as scary of a night as I was going in thinking it was. So I was a little relieved to not be as scared as I thought I was going to be, but it was very immersive. I loved the immersion of the scare zones and the houses. And I would say it's complete opposite of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
Are you able to get in the parks early for that as well?
Yes.
You can, okay.
So there's two different. It's a little bit different than the Disney one because they do a hard close of everything at 5:00. So if you're in the park during the day with either a daytime ticket or with an annual pass, and you have party tickets, you have to go to what they call a stay and scare holding zone from like starting at 5:00. And they just usher everybody there or usher you out of the parks. So you can either have a daytime ticket and a ticket for the party, and you can stay in one of those zones, or you can purchase early entry that allows you in at 3:00 in the afternoon, and then you have to go to one of the stay and scare zones at 5. So if you do either one of those things, they usher you to those zones at 5, and then they start letting you go to the houses around 5:30, when technically everything doesn't open until 6:30. We did not do early entry for this though, so we got there about 6 o'clock, and then they started letting people in at 6:30, right at 6:30. And there was a line, but it was very orderly, and it did not take long to get through at all.
Right. It felt like, if you go to a Disney park in like the summer, like in the morning when you have those lines out front, you're trying to get through security. It felt about like that. But the lines were really moving.
It moved fast.
You talked about like you heard, it's like very scary, and like you were scared, but not maybe to the level. And that's one of the things I was wondering, because I've heard too, like it's very scary. But
I was gonna say, just how scary was it?
But you see some of the houses, and like they had a Ghostbusters house, and I'm like, Ghostbusters isn't like inherently a scary movie, right?
Yeah, that was
I
the
don't
best
know
one.
And I don't know if I think they had one on the weekend, and I don't know the singer. I don't know if that was in Florida or California, but I'm like, I don't know how scary something on.
Yeah, I don't remember anything like that.
Okay, but I'm like, how scary can that be? Like, it's The Weeknd, he's a singer,
Yeah.
so so like, was Ghostbusters? So you said you really liked that one, but like, was it scary, or is it kind of more like okay?
No, okay. I mean, I suppose if you're very skittish,
if you're
or
jumpy,
you're a child or something, maybe it would be. I literally was cheering. Through the Ghostbusters.
It was the best house.
It was so well done.
It was so immersive. I mean, they tell you you're not really supposed to film when you go through, so I tried to abide by that. But like, I wish that I could share a walkthrough video, because they have like little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men all over there,
like the new
movies,
around. Like they're moving around and stuff. I mean, you're literally just clapping.
It's all based on the most recent movie. So like, you walk into like this dining room scene that's just completely covered in ice, and then they have characters from the movie kind of jumping in and out of the rooms with like their proton pack and shooting at the ghosts. Slimer was a really cool effect in there. And then I don't remember the name of the like big bad villain in the most recent Ghostbusters.
The big bad.
But like the guy with the horns, he appeared quite a few times in the house, and it was super immersive. And that one was really cool.
I don't think we can overstate how well it was done. Like, it doesn't look cheap.
No.
It looks like you're walking through parts of the movie. It is just so well done.
For sure. It's amazing that they just put that up temporarily, because it could be a permanent thing.
Okay, You've sold me on it. I'm ready to go. Except for now I need to know, back to the question, how scary were the scary houses?
There were some haunted houses that were scarier than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know when we were going into it, I didn't look into any of it, so I just kind of expected, there's just going to be some like your boilerplate haunted houses. And I would say like the quality of all of the houses was really excellent. Some of them were more like just kind of more generic, your jump scares and stuff, but all of them like were really well done.
I'd say to me the scariest ones were like the Insidious one was pretty scary, not as scary as everybody made it out to be. Everybody was like, oh, that one's gonna mess you up, and I mean,
I think it was the anticipation of that one.
But that one was pretty scary, and I could see like if you're somebody who is not into the horror genre like we are, and you don't really care for jump scares, that one could definitely freak you out. And then we went through one that was like
the candy one.
The Candy Factory.
Candy Factory one. That one was just gross.
It was really gross. It was just like not my thing. Like there was just a lot of like really weird stuff with kids in there that I didn't love.
It was like the theme was like you go to you're on a field trip and you're going through a candy factory,
but like these evil creatures have taken it over.
Something bad's taken over.
Yeah.
So like Willy Wonka, but like real messed
really
up.
Nightmarish.
Yeah. Like gross 80s horror, type nastiness.
Yeah, that one was pretty gross, but I'd say a lot of it is, it just depends on how the jump scare affects you. That's how scary it's going to be in most of them.
So I guess I guess I have maybe two questions on the houses kind of with that. So one, like how large of a group are you going in with?
You're in a line. It's just it's pretty much a
Just a
continuous
continuous
line.
line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because I feel like that's always something in the haunted house. Like you want to be in the middle because like the first person always gets scared.
No.
And, so.
No, Joe. No, we worked so one time we volunteered in a haunted house. It was like a local haunted house. They tell you to jump out of the person in the middle of the group because the person in the middle is always the one that's the most afraid. So they surround that one. So you jump out at that one, they react, and then everybody else gets scared because of that.
I'd say consistently on these they had barriers in between the rooms that you would have to push your way through. So that was kind of
stuff hanging in the doorway.
So that's kind of to deal with the fact that it is a continuous line. So you are getting kind of broken up. So they're like resetting while you're walking through.
So they just keep constantly kind of just keep
pretty
people
much.
going
Yeah.
through.
I mean, I think there were some breaks because they'd hold us for a little while. I think if it was like getting too slowed down inside. But for the most part, it's a fairly continuous line through the houses. Yeah.
The really cool thing about the Insidious one, I thought, was the way they did the lighting.
Yeah.
When you would walk into different rooms, they would put up these cloth barriers and they would have them painted so they look like walls. Mm-hmm. And so because of the low lighting, when you would walk through, you thought it was a wall, and then all of a sudden the wall's moving and something's trying to get you.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, that was cool. The Quiet Place house was really, really well done, too.
That was another one that was high quality.
You felt like you were walking through the movie set.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize they had a Quiet Place one. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Was it quiet in there? Like, was that?
Not at all.
No.
Well, I mean, people,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, the shtick was like every time you'd walk into a room, some NPC would be in there making noise. And so then something would jump out. So like there'd be something clanging that you could not control.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So my other question with the house is like, how long are they? Like, how long does it typically take you to go through one?
5 minutes, maybe. What do you think?
Maybe at most 10.
I don't have a good internal clock. I'm not a good person.
I know Ghostbusters was like I would have stayed in there all night. Like
we were walking very slower than they wanted us to
they were
through
trying
Ghostbusters.
To
they were trying to get us to go because we were trying to just soak it all in.
I mean, I cannot overemphasize. I was cheering in every room. I literally was clapping for the actors that would come out. They would look so great.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, you're doing such a great job."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How many people were doing that? Was it just you? Or you the one weirdo? Or
I was. I
mean, we'd walk into a room and it was like, "Woo! Yeah!"
That's awesome.
That's funny.
That's so awesome. I was just wondering, like, when they went home that night, were they like, "We got cheered for tonight"?
Yeah.
I can't be the only person.
Probably
that
not.
Was that
it was really
exciting.
Good.
That's awesome.
Really good.
So,
but if you were, that's still the awesome
cool.
To be that person because they went home
true.
and had a good story.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was gonna say maybe top 3. So besides Ghostbusters, what were like maybe the next 2 favorite?
Ghostbusters, A Quiet Place,
Yeah.
And then my third favorite, I'm trying to remember what it was called. Oh, Bloodlines. So this one was really cool because it was all female cast in the haunted house, and the storyline was around like a descendant of Van Helsing, who is going after like the female vampires and the Bride of Frankenstein and all this different stuff. So, and that one was really neat because they had like snow coming down and like a cool graveyard scene, and again, like the actors in the haunted house just made it amazing.
Have you tried not being Van Helsing?
Yeah, right.
I mean, this just sounds fascinating. We were talking about snow and like just the detail of it. I can see why it has such like a big following. Like I feel like so many people down, like you hear about, and you can buy like essentially an annual pass. I know. Yeah, like people are like, I'm going every night.
Yeah, we went with
to go to this thing.
We went with a few people who have those, so they were like, "Yeah, we'll come back and do that one later."
No, you got the express pass.
We
right?
did.
To go.
I 100% recommend the express pass, especially if you're like us and it's your like one shot, one and done. We got to get everything done we want to do. We breezed through the express line. We didn't wait more than 10 minutes for a single house. I I mean, most of them were just like breezing right through.
If you got there early enough in the night and you had the express, you could do all.
You could do everything. You could do everything if you wanted to. We didn't do everything because we, wanted breaks for eating and drinking and watching the shows and stuff like that. But you could if you wanted to with that express pass. And there were people there that night that I knew. We didn't do things with them, but they got through all 10 houses in like 2 hours. So you can, for sure. I really recommend the express pass. The standby lines were
incredibly long.
45 minutes to an hour and 30. So
I mean, I think some of those you'd be lucky if you got in an hour and a half. Like they were.
Because there's what, I think 10 houses?
10.
8,
Mm-hmm.
10? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting an hour, there's no way you can get through all of them in a night.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you'd walk in so that you'd see the entrance to the haunted houses. They'd be somewhere like in the park that you're used to seeing. And then you would walk in through that entrance. And then you would go back and you would see these like pins of lines of people that are in places that it's like basically
lots of backlot
areas. And there's just like tons of rows of people lined up. And so if you were not to get an express pass, you're just going to have a very slow night.
But I mean, we still need people to not get the express pass so that the people who have the express pass
so don't get it. It's not worth the money.
Not worth it. Don't do it.
How were the scare zones?
Great.
Like scare zone shows? They were all good as well?
The scare zones were really fun. Our favorite was the torture fair. It was like Renaissance themed, and they had, people being tortured, and there were like witches walking around. I was dressed as a witch that night. So I got some great interactions in that scare zone with like the witches, like trying to convince me to be in their coven. And that was it. Yeah, the scare zones were great.
Yeah, we walked through there as much as we could.
We walked through that one a lot.
You kind of had a choice of where you could walk through. And I was like, let's walk through the Renaissance fair again. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the swamp one was really neat too. Again, just really immersive with the theming and the characters in there. But yeah, the torture fair was our favorite one.
And you mentioned shows as well.
Yeah. Yes.
So what kind of shows did you see?
Yeah. So there's actually only one show for Halloween Horror Nights aside from the scare zones, which I feel like are kind of shows anyway because there are performers in those areas playing roles. But they have a stage show, which is called Nightmare Fuel. And honestly, it's one of the best shows I have ever seen in a theme park ever. It was the talent on that stage is so incredible. It's circus themed.
Right.
So it follows the storyline of someone trying to save somebody in a circus. I won't go past that because I don't want to give away any spoilers. But there's acrobatics, people who do stuff with fire, amazing dancers. It's really, really cool. Aerialists. It's amazing.
If you've been to a Vegas show, it was that.
Very Vegas.
That
themed.
quality.
It was that.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
So I guess comparing, and obviously they are different, Disney and Universal.
And
but if you picked one, like if you picked a favorite that you'd want to go back to, like did you have a favorite, or like they're kind of their own unique thing in their own way?
I feel like I can read your face right now and you're going to give the unpopular answer.
Yeah, I would say, okay, here's my answer, and yes, it's going to be unpopular. Given the choice between the two parties in Orlando, because of us being adults and liking the adult entertainment and atmosphere, I would choose Halloween Horror Nights. But I really love Oogie Boogie Bash. I prefer that to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. So if I'm in California, my answer might be different.
Interesting. And how would you... Okay, so this...
What about you? Wait, what's your answer? You have to answer this
No,
too.
that's a good answer. I think Oogie Boogie's kind of like a little bit of a step up in like age, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
It feels like. Then Mickey's Not So Scary. Now, I would say if you've never done Mickey's Not So Scary,
you should do it.
You should do it. It's worth going
Yeah, it's definitely worth going.
It's worth going to more than once. We obviously have.
Yeah.
But the Halloween Horror Nights, yeah, I would agree that it skews a little bit older.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it definitely, like, it's to your point, I mean, like they're different clientele. It's a different demographic. It's targeting, if you, like you said, if you're not somebody that likes jump scares, like don't go to Universal.
Yeah, if you scare easily and you don't like horror, don't go. Don't go.
But it sounds like, and I think that's why they do the daytime walkthroughs, because to your point, it's so incredibly detailed. They put so much into this to make it feel like you're actually in a movie, like you're actually there, that it's like, hey, if you are somebody that like, I can't do horror, I don't want to be scared, but I want to see what they did, and kind of it sounds impressive. It seems like top to bottom, everything you said, like the houses are great, the scare zones are great, the shows are, like top quality, that, it just sounds like it's almost worth it to go to just experience like that quality of entertainment.
For sure.
Another important difference is that the Halloween Horror Nights is not a costume party.
Right.
So if you're wanting to dress up, then you need to do Mickey's Not So Scary or Oogie Boogie on the West Coast, because Halloween Horror Nights
it actually says on the website that it's not a costume party.
Yeah. So you can wear like things that are like a theme. You can kind of look like a witch, but not really a costume. I wore a Jurassic Park shirt with, some makeup across my face that looked like I had,
Yeah, he was a Jurassic Park employee.
Had a bad interaction with a clever girl.
So, even though we weren't really asking about Oogie Boogie here, I have to know, like, so as somebody who's never been to either, and you mentioned that Oogie Boogie skews a little bit older, but like, kind of, say you live in the center of the United States and you're like, I'm going to go to one or the other. What is like just like a basic, the difference between like an Oogie Boogie and like Mickey's Not So Scary?
I don't know. I felt like it was just thinking about Oogie Boogie. We've done Oogie Boogie what?
I don't even know how many times now.
2 or 3 times.
Lot. I feel like more than that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's the presence of alcohol, which is a different thing versus Mickey Not So Scary. So if you don't want to be around that, then Mickey's Not So Scary is your choice. So you have that. So I do think that probably helps bring out like an older crowd, and I think like the
character interactions is the biggest difference, because they have so many villains in the trick or treat stations, whereas at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween, you're just getting candy.
It's more the classic characters. Yeah.
Well, they don't even have characters at the trick or treat stations. So
but like the character interactions at the Mickey's Not So Scary are more the classic characters.
Yeah.
But characters interactions at Oogie Boogie are a lot of villains.
Yeah, tons of villains. I mean, you when you go to the trick or treat stations, if you're wanting the candy, you can wait in line and like get the candy, and at pretty much all of them, they also have a villain there that you can interact with. And if you don't want the candy, you can just go up and interact with the villains and, watch them, talk to them for a little while and head out. But I think that to me is the biggest difference. It's a lot more interaction with characters.
I don't feel like there are any like dark corners in Mickey's Not So Scary.
Yeah, where they could put them.
Where you kind of walk
That's
into.
true.
Whereas in Oogie Boogie, there are definitely places that like, it seems very dark over here. Are you sure? Oh, it's Maleficent.
Yeah.
Can you dress up in costume at Oogie Boogie as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And I know the other thing, like with Oogie Boogie, they have, I think like Guardians does the overlay. They do like monsters.
Oh yeah, it is way more intense. It like definitely the music's louder, the drops seem faster. I don't know if it really is or not, but it definitely feels more intense during Halloween time. They also have the parade is a little bit different at Oogie Boogie than it is at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween. And then they do, I'm trying to remember what other shows they do there.
At the Oogie Boogie?
Oh, they do a special World of Color for Oogie Boogie Bash.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
That's all Halloween themed.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Did you mention that the it's not the Tower of Terror now? It's Guardians.
That's what he was talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Monsters After Dark.
Monsters After Dark.
Yeah, it's like the sequel to the first one. It really it, like continues the storyline of the first one, but it's
of the Mission Breakout. Okay.
But it's basically all monsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the monsters got out. Distract them.
Does Not So Scary, do they do any sort of like overlays for that party on any attractions?
They do. It's not an overlay, but they add characters in the queue for Haunted Mansion. So you have characters like interacting with you in the queue. Different ghosts come out and talk to you in the queue. So they changed the music for Space Mountain, and then it's like almost completely pitch black instead of like the stars and everything. I think those were the only two that they really did anything different with.
Again, kind of getting off track of Halloween here, but you said you rode Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So relatively recent. What were your kind of first impressions and thoughts on it?
Loved
it. It was delightful.
It was so fun and sweet and beautiful, and the animatronics are really awesome. Yeah, loved it. Loved everything about it.
Yeah, they spared no expense. It was really great.
Yeah, his exact word when we got off was, "That was delightful."
Yeah.
Aww.
I would say that we did that, which was a major renovation, and we did the Country Bear Jamboree.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Show.
How was
Yes,
that?
right.
How
That
was
was
that?
wonderful.
Also
too.
delightful.
It was so great. I mean, all the choices of the music were just so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was really good.
It was cute. It was very cute.
That's good. That bodes well for all the other changes coming.
Yeah.
If they're like things are doing well, so
We're Disney history buffs and pretty classic when it comes to like what we expect. So I was really worried about the Country Bears, and I don't know if it's something that would last long term with the music choices. But I thought it was a really nice change.
But they
for a
added
while.
things that were, Disney loves their IP, so they
Yeah,
added
Disney songs.
The music
A lot
is
of it's-
Disney
yes,
song
Disney songs.
IP stuff.
Mhm.
So like, I think it will last longer
Yeah.
than maybe other music would.
Yeah, that's true.
And it does give you a good idea of how they could continue refreshing that ride in the future,
Mhm.
refreshing that attraction in the
Attraction.
future,
Mhm.
because you could just update it with songs that as movies come out.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought it was so well done, and that ride has a history of changing over the years. So.
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
I do think you're underselling yourself though with Disney history buffs, because I mean when we go around the parks with you, Keifer's just spouting off random facts like, "Hey, do you know about that? Do you know this means that?
So-
that sign
so
there is this."
That corner right there is where Walt identified the bird, and then it was named scientifically after him.
Hold on. We have to go show you this light bulb.
Yes.
That's painted
That's my
two
favorite
different
part.
colors.
Too much.
That is-
Like, hold on, we have to show you this, and it's
Painted
like,
half
do you
red,
know this
half
means that?
white.
So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see
So-
that cave through there? What was that one? That was the Bob Gurr. Or, like he was that. Or
Oh yeah, that was like
or
Nature's
maybe no.
Wonderland. Yeah, the Nature's
Oh,
Wonderland.
yeah.
You can
Yeah,
say-
yeah,
yeah,
yep.
There used to be a ride right there. Yeah.
The train.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely a Disney historian
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, Disney makes it easy because they recycle everything, and so like when
Yeah.
you get a new ride, you can point out old things because they're like, oh, they reused that, they reused that.
Well, even the attractions, even Country Bears Jamboree, we did an episode on the ski resort that they were supposed to build.
Was it
and-
Mineral King?
Mineral King, yeah. And Country Bears Jamboree was an attraction there. Mineral King fell through, and then years later they're like, "Hey, that was a good idea. Let's put that in the parks." Like no idea ever goes away for them, even if they don't
Yeah.
build it. Like they always pull it back and use it.
Yes.
So I guess any like maybe final thoughts on tips for anybody going to Mickey's Not So Scary, going to Halloween Horror Nights? It sounds like get the express pass for sure.
Yes.
Try to get there early. Any kind of other, like if it's your first time, like things to kind of keep in mind?
I would say something that we haven't mentioned is that even if it's sold out, you should still keep pursuing it.
Yes.
Because
We had a situation.
we had a situation where we thought we had tickets, we didn't have tickets, and it was sold out, but we were still able to get them because
I kept calling.
We kept at it. You can keep calling, and then we had other people who actually were at the park who got tickets
Yeah.
to what was supposed to be sold out. So if it's a night that you wanted to go to and it's sold out, there is still hope.
Yeah, keep trying because you can't get a refund, but you can change your date. So people are constantly like shifting the dates around that they're going to go. So things will open up last minute and you're able to either call or go to guest services at the park and get tickets a couple of days before or day of even. So if you really want to go, you're like, I'm in Orlando, I don't have tickets to this, but I really love to, you should definitely check because it might be possible. And I would say my biggest tip is don't try to do so much that you forget to eat and stay hydrated, especially in Florida. I am the kind of person who will try to push through to get everything done that I want to do without thinking about those things. And I have someone who reminds me that I'm getting hangry and we need to stop and go get food. So I would say, like, kind of think about going in what you want to eat. And what you want to drink, and stop and enjoy those things. Halloween Horror Nights had really diverse food options. I would say more diverse than what you could find at Disney. So take a little time to kind of look and see what they have and what you might want, and try some things. And yeah, just really make sure that you're taking time to enjoy things other than the attractions, because there's a lot more to it than just that.
Good, great.
That's a great tip.
Yeah,
Dang.
all great tips. Again, really appreciate having you both on, kind of recapping. If our listeners would like to connect with you further, social media, anything, how could they do that?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm princess_Woodruff. And I'm also a travel agent. So if you need any help booking Disney or Universal or any type of vacation, you can click a link in my bio on Instagram to chat with me about that as well. But my Instagram's all Disney bounding, cosplay, and Star Wars. So, just lots of fun stuff on there. And then I'm also on TikTok as Jedi Princess Woodruff. So yeah, you can find me either place.
Nice.
Great, and we'll throw a link to that in the description too for our listeners. Just want to catch it out there. So, but Jennifer and Keifer, really appreciate it. Thanks for being on.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
But that wraps up the show for this week. We want to thank everybody again for listening. If you've not done so, please leave us a rating or a review. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It really helps, and we really appreciate it.
Thanks for lending us your ears.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you here next Monday.
Bye-bye.